Hello and thank you for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, President Buhari receives NDDC forensic audit reports covering 13,777 awarded contracts. On Journalist Hangout Weekend Special, Lagos State House of Assembly amends criminal justice law. Also on the program, Rivers PDP Ward suspend National Chairman Uche Secondus. Naira down to 526 Naira per dollar, loses 26% in 4 weeks, as federal government says economy will regress if we don't borrow. And lastly on the show, Ronaldo emerges world greatest international scorer, scores 111 times against 45 different countries. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Emeka Madunago, while Kolawole Johnson will be joining us from our Abuja studio. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. It's your special one, Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Let's begin on a sad note by commiserating with the publisher of Sahara Reporters, Omoyele Sowore, whose brother Felix Olajide Sowore was shot dead by kidnappers on Lagos-Benin Expressway on Saturday morning. The younger Sowore was a pharmacy student at the Igbenidion University, Okada, was killed when gunmen kidnapped about 5 travelers on the highway. That area is not safe. Benin or Express Road. Babajide, this is like confirmation. I wanted to venture into that road some 2-3 weeks ago, and somebody told me that immediately when you leave Ijebu, by the time you get to Okada, that it's just not a safe zone. Now with this killing, it's like a confirmation.
There are not many places that are safe in Nigeria when you are traveling by road. Not many areas are safe, and that's what we've been saying for so long, that government should do something about insecurity in our country. We keep losing people. We keep losing people to these bandits and criminal headsmen who graduated to banditry. Some of them used to own cattle. They were victims of cattle rustling. Out of frustration, they became kidnappers. And they understand the forest more than everyone. So it's terrible that we have to lose such a young man at this stage, but we can only pray that God will give the family the fortitude to bear this loss.
Emeka, did that industry seem to be a very thriving industry now? That the criminal industry of banditry. A lot of people feel that, you know, it's not only in the north, it has graduated, it has left the north, it has gone, come down south now.
No, it's always been there, you know. It's just that Okada Junction has been between Okada and Ekeadolo.
Ekeadolo, that's Polytechnic.
Yes, and then between Okada Junction and Okada itself, you know, there have been notorious spots. I escaped being killed in 1998, May 1998. Robbers, you know, blocked the road. Yes, and the unfortunate thing is that it's a mix of, criminals operating in that area. I know of a medical doctor in 2019, a medical doctor at University Teaching Hospital, who was shot dead there. You know, he saw a barricade ahead and tried to reverse. They pumped bullets into him, they killed him. You know, I know of a federal civil servant who was kidnapped around that junction. And, you know, they had to raise 5 million naira ransom for him. So the point is that that area is becoming notorious again. Someone traveled recently and told me around February, you know, he traveled by night bus, you know, told me of how they were late. You know, some buses were late and about 3 people were killed. So there's a military checkpoint actually, you know, before Okada and far after Okada. I think they need to bring maybe a military checkpoint closer to that place, you know, because the military checkpoints have really helped to reduce crime on Shagamu Benin Expressway. You know, there's a place, a notorious spot, J4. You know, J4.
Oh, J4, J4. Yes.
It used to be very notorious,
After
but I think the military has been able to, you know, make that place safer. So I think the military checkpoint is needed around Okada Junction. They need to station soldiers right there so that to put an end to, and even on that Okada road, the road to Okada, something drastic needs to be done.
We pray that the Almighty God will grant the Shores the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss.
Amen.
Now, in a sad reality of the security situation in Nigeria, some heavily armed bandits were seen in a jubilant mood in the viral video. They were dancing and shooting sporadically into the air in an apparent celebration of a wedding in the forest. Let me share this video with you. I've been seeing this video since last week and it's so curious, and you need to see what that industry is looking like now.
Allahu Akbar. Allah. Akwai kwalwa a ciki. Kulle kana ta buɗe. Kai ku bayyana gaban mutane. Maka zai? Kai. Kap. Alam aku sa halin ta ba. Kun gani ko? Kap. Jiwa kaya. Ana kwatanta maka. Kai. Kai.
You know, when I saw this video initially, I wanted to look out for the things that, you know, that, okay, maybe these are foreign guys and everything. I listened carefully to what they were saying and everything, and I discovered that, oh, these are our people. And look at the camouflage, look at the police uniform. So it's not enough that you are driving in one highway now, and some people, anybody in camouflage stops you, it's not likely to be the regular military guy. It might be these guys in military fatigue. Look at them, full military regalia.
Not all the time that you see. These are Nigerian Army uniform, police uniform. You see even the desert camo.
Yes,
the Nigerian Army. One of them was wearing it.
Yes.
We will see that one later. We are celebrating a wedding, and you see this is desert camo of the Nigerian Army. We've heard of arrest of people who sold army uniform in Zamfara, especially. A soldier was arrested because he and his wife sold army uniform to bandits. We don't know how the case has ended. In our country, those arrests are made, they will make noise about it, but after that you won't hear anything again.
Anything about the prosecution.
Whereas you are supposed to let people know, so that by the time we make examples of them, the press will report it and then people can learn. But we do not do that.
Judy, I'm worried the access to this kind of munition.
Yes, through the border with Niger, these things will come in. They come through Libya, they come into Chad. But you know, Chad, our border with Chad is not really extensive. It's very small, our land border with Chad. So, but in the case of Niger, we are sharing border with Niger in no less than 6 states. Our border with Niger is almost 900 kilometers. So, through the border with Niger, a lot of these weapons come in, and many people have been arrested. We've seen videos of people arrested after coming into our country to sell weapons to these guys.
Because this seems to be a wedding ceremony, and these people are jubilating in the middle of the forest. They've created their own enclaves. They have their own world.
Yeah, well, I have said it a number of times that government must borrow some lessons from how Colombia and Sri Lanka managed to end insurgency. That of Colombia lasted for 53 years. You know, I mean, they're talking of concluding some aspects by this month. This month. So, government needs to really look at how these things were done, how they put an end to it. Because, for instance, in Colombia, criminal groups were operating under the cover of the FARC rebels. You know, it's exactly what you have right now. You know, holding the fringes of Colombia and all of that. So, definitely, something drastic must be done about these people, because what they're only showing is that, you know, this is what we have in our arsenal, and then you can dare us. So maybe also sending a message to government, okay, you brought it to Kanos, all right, we are ready for it to Kanos. You understand? And so
this is like their own show of force.
Yeah, show of force. So no serious country allows such a thing to stay. No serious country allows such a thing. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And look at the young men.
It's ridiculous. Yes.
Look at.
Of course, these are people. You know, poverty is rife. Poverty is rife. Poverty is rife in the north. So a lot of young people are can be easily recruited into criminal activities. And what do you do with a high number of out of school children? So idle hands are being recruited into criminal enterprise. And that's what you see,
It's
even
terrible.
Putting on the uniforms of the Nigerian military and the police is also an affront on our institution. You see, that's what we've been, talking about.
We have to leave it there. Now, moving on now. No time, they say, is too late to do the right thing. After much anticipation and anxiety, President Muhammadu Buhari had received the final reports of the forensic audits of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, who presented the document conveyed in sacks to the President, said the forensic audits covered 13,777 contracts awarded from 2001 to 2019 at a final contract value of over 3 trillion naira. I was afraid to say tell you that amount from 2001 to 2019 and a final contract value of over 3 trillion naira. Let's share the story with you.
The future of the Niger Delta Development Commission is largely dependent on inculating forensic reports into all its projects since inception, presented to the President. Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, who handed over the report to the minister, says that 13,777 contracts for projects and programs were awarded to contractors and consultants in all Niger Delta states from 2001 to August 2019 at a total final contract value of over 3.2 trillion naira. He noted that the intention of the exercise is not to witch hunt anybody, but to correct the mistakes of the past. Rather, the report identified a number of beneficiary companies. The exact status of all contracts were established, while funding gaps, irregularities, and mismanagement were observed. It was also established that no state had made payment in terms of ecological funds, including the federal government. The exercise, carried out by over 390 personnel, took place in 16 states in the Federation.
The intention of this exercise is not to witch hunt anybody or any organization. The intention had always been to correct the wrongs of the past. The people wanted to know what was happening. How come trillions are entering NDDC and they had little or no 5-kilometer dualized road to show? In fact, even the headquarters building that was started in 1994-95 could not be completed in 19 years. Outside that, they stayed in a rented apartment where they were paying over 300 million a year.
Operations of the Commission should be totally computerized. Reconciliation of all 362 bank accounts of the NDDC and to establish the presence or absence of overcharges by various banks involved. All converted NDDC projects should be recovered from individuals and put to the use for its intended purpose. The Commission should adopt a standard for contracts with appropriate profit margin, 25% recommended. All salaries and allowances of the Commission should be reconstructed to reflect that of similar agencies and Commission. All staff active or retired who are involved in the issues of contract splitting, conflict of interest, contract execution, overpayment without due process should be made to account for their actions. Effort should be made to reconcile and recover the sum of $4 billion as standard 3% contribution from oil companies. Practice of mobilization payment should be abolished.
These administrations.
On his part, Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami says the recommendations from the report will be considered and implemented.
The report on the forensic audit of the NDDC annual recommendations will therefore be critically analyzed for necessary action and implementation. We owe it a duty to the people of the Niger Delta region to improve their standard of living through the provision of adequate infrastructural and socio-economic development.
The federal government will consequently apply the law to remedy the deficiencies outlined in the audit report as appropriate. This will include initiation of criminal investigations, prosecution, recovery of funds not properly utilized for public purposes, review of the laws and reposition, and the restructure of the NDDC for effective or better service delivery. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
All right. 13,777 contracts awarded between 2001 to 2019, and the final value of over $3 trillion naira. And anything that has to do with NDDC, since we've been monitoring their public hearing and everything, I've just made up my mind that nothing is going to come as a surprise. Babajide?
Yes, and I think that forensic auditing of NDDC should be a continuous process. It should also include even the period of the current minister, because so many nasty things happened and we saw plenty of drama. People fainting in public in a manner that suggested that it was contrived. So Nigerians are worried. The administration of President Buhari has spent 6 years in office now, more than 6 years. And during this period, for example, the East-West Road that had been abandoned for years remains pitiably uncompleted. Not because NDDC had not been funded. It had been funded. The president did his bit by even going ahead to give the people what they wanted. Give them a minister to superintend over the affairs of the NDDC. But has that stopped the sleaze going on there? The answer is no. Even during COVID-19, at the height of the COVID pandemic, we saw a lot of nasty things going on at NDDC.
Like sharing of relief materials.
Even claiming that they were executing contracts at a time when people were supposed to be indoors.
At a standstill.
And humongous sums of money being released to that effect, especially desilting contracts. One of the ways by which money gets stolen in NDDC is the frivolous award of so-called desilting contracts. At the end of the day, you discover that nothing was desilted. So the commission has become like a cesspool of corruption that serious steps, we now need to take serious steps to change the situation of things over there. The president made a promise that people indicted will not be allowed to go unpunished. I want to believe that this time around, this is not just a mere threat.
And this report will not guarantee us anywhere.
We want to see those people prosecuted, including those who were involved in corruption of the last 1 or 2 years at NDDC. Not just.
The audit should be a yearly thing, so that
let us be able to identify, because as we are trying to stop to punish corruption that happened in the past, some stubborn and corrupt individuals are still getting involved in corruption.
They are getting more.
Yes, more. That is why it has to be a continuous thing. Let's put them on trial. Let's make examples of these people. If we don't do that, we are just wasting our time, because we won't solve the problem.
Emeka, if you've been to the Niger Delta, if you've been to a place like Bayelsa State, and you travel on speedboat from Bayelsa, from Yendugoa to like a place like Okpoma, like 6 hours on speedboat, that's where the Minister of Petroleum is from, Minister of State for Petroleum. You travel by speedboat, you see these communities and you see everything. You'll be thinking that, oh, these are people that government, they are forgotten over time.
Of course.
That's what you think when you now see how much has been given to NDDC, presided over by Niger Deltans.
Yes, I schooled in the Niger Delta. I spent a lot of years in Niger Delta, and I know for sure that, I had that feeling that NDDC will come to a disastrous end. When I was one of those that opposed the setting up of NDDC, but of course people were shouting no, and the Niger Delta needs a special commission, and I asked why. When we are talking of Revenue Allocation Act, people have been talking of that it should be restructured so that the states will be more responsible to their people. Local government should be more responsible to their people. But what do we have? You have all kinds of interventionist agencies that keep taking funds and frittering them away, and the states are crying, for lack of funds. Yes, I know that there is heavy corruption, huge corruption in the states, but at the same time, you see these interventionist agencies, I don't see the use. What their use is. You have a Ministry of Niger Delta, you have a Niger Delta Development Commission, then the states also have their own development commissions. All this is these are just conduits for for criminal diversion.
Because you've not seen the impact of all these intervention agencies directly on people.
I travel to Niger Delta from time to time, and it is shameful. I have been stuck in traffic on that east-west road around 2 a.m. It was terrible. I had to take a bike. We were wading through pools of water in the dead of the night, and people were stuck in their cars, trucks, and all of that for me to get to where I was going to. It was so bad. And I said, but you have a state, you have agencies, federal agencies, there's a state government in this place. The entire Niger Delta is a pity what has been done to the Niger Delta. I mean, so many lives have been lost, in agitations. Look at sickness, no water to drink, nothing. The people have been virtually ripped off. So the thing is this, the people must stand up and say, this NDDC should be scrapped. Because I want to know, President Buhari has just less than 2 years to live. Within what time are they going to trace all these criminals, the people I mentioned, and prosecute them? You know how slow our judicial system is. When will we, unless they are going to set up maybe special courts to try these malfeasance? Otherwise, if it's through the regular judicial system, I don't see anything coming out of it.
Okay. I have Kolawole Johnson joining us from our Abuja studio. Kolawole Johnson was an active participant during the public hearing of this commission. Kolawole, what do you make of the submission of this report?
It's good to be hanging out again after over 1 year.
Yeah. Nice to have you, Kola.
Good to be here. Thank you. First of all, I think the report, based on the snippet out, perhaps has only confirmed part of the things that we've been saying to the public in the last 3 years. Beyond that, the questions I think we asked ourselves in the stakeholders meeting yesterday, some NGOs coming together, was the fact that the content of this report, when will it be made public? Because we also have our facts and figures. There is a need for us to compare what we have against what the report contains. Why? At initial, there were hue and cry that the forensic audit was only a political exercise.
Yes.
Just like the last speaker said, that perhaps we may not get anything out of the forensic report. Why? Because from the very beginning, remember, even when they said the audit was ongoing, we came out to say that there was no audit ongoing for over 1 year. Not until the president had to make that happen through the Federal Executive Council. So we suspect strongly that even at this stage, we may just end up with something that will not amount to anything. However, we want to give the benefit of doubt, not just to the government, not just to the Minister of Justice, but also to the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, so that the content of the report, one, can be published. We can all see and also push for the prosecution of everyone involved. That said, now, is anything a surprise that we have seen thus far, those snippets we've gotten? Absolutely nothing. There is no surprise there. We should only be going ahead to say that if the audit covered between 2001 and 2019, so what happens to 2019 to 2021? At least, if we are going after those who stole long ago, what exactly are we doing to those who stole right under the nose of Mr. President? I remember that when we started this agitation, nobody took us serious until it got to a state that the National Assembly had to institute a probe panel. Now, during that probe, the president said clearly that he was going to wait for the report of the National Assembly to act. The report came out, it was submitted to him. It was so unfortunate that Mr. President did nothing. And let me say here that one of the things that gave us the zeal to go all the way then was the fact that we had the hope that Mr. President was going to act, because he has been known for his anti-corruption stand. However, when the report, let's assume that all the documents we brought, that the state, was too lazy to act on them. About the report of the National Assembly. Now, it is on record that even when those who were involved, the last interim committee, when they sacked them from office, it's on record that they were not sacked on the strength of any allegation of corruption. They used a flimsy court case or court injunction to oust those guys. Now, that may score for us the fact that the government maybe will not do anything about this report if the one that happened right under their nose. If that was swept under the carpet. But there is something again that should come to our attention, is the fact that, see, we have been saying that monies are given to the Niger Deltans. Of course, it is true that people from the area so pretend over the commission. But don't leave the fact, we can prove that. I'm saying it on national TV, that most of this money, or a large chunk of this fund, find its way back to Abuja, where they slice and share it.
Thank you,
It will shock you to know that those
Thank you for your brief intervention there.
over the commission, because they want to remain in office, a lot of times they have to service the Abuja cabal. So you will find out that most of the fund that should work for the people come back to Abuja here. In fact, as a matter of fact, it doesn't even leave Abuja here because it is disbursed through the CBN. Through the banks here.
Okay, let me put you on hold. Let me put you on hold there. Kolawole, Judy, this is not the first time I'm going to be seeing reports submitted. Nigeria even sat down in 2014. They had a national conference that had to do with all this, a new constitution or how we're going to, stay together and everything. That report is gathering dust elsewhere now. So when I'm seeing this sack, this drama with sack and everything, the report of the over 13,777 Ghana must go contractors, I'm not impressed because this might end up somewhere in no time.
Yes, it's part of what we are saying. There were both the Senate and the House of Reps investigated the NDDC. The Senate came up with its findings, and one of his findings was that the minister should stop supervising the affairs of the Niger Delta Development Commission, because by law, it's supposed to be supervised by the presidency. The Senate advised the president in his report,
SGF office,
yes, that it should be sent back, that the supervision should go back to the SGF's office. They didn't say that for nothing. It was because of the findings. Because of their findings, they felt, look, even the idea of having the minister was not achieving the purpose for which
is meant to preside over the Niger Delta Ministry.
The president, yes. The president merely exercised his power to delegate. That was what happened. By the act setting up the commission, it cannot be supervised by a minister. It's the presidency that should supervise it. And that act had not been amended. But the president merely exercised his right to delegate. But now it's now looking like fait accompli. So they are saying, no, don't do that. They also made some recommendations. Now, those recommendations, the president has not done anything about them. If we had an adversarial National Assembly during the time of Bukola Saraki, and we now have a National Assembly that is ready to work with the president, cooperating with him, why disrespect them by allowing them to have weeks and weeks of investigation and choose not to do anything about it? So my own suggestion is that now that this forensic investigation has ended, the report is out, the president should take a second look, or to take a look, if he has not even had the first look, at the report of the Senate, so that those changes that the Senate recommended, we can make them happen. That will help us to get to the promised land as far as NDDC is concerned.
Rebecca, implementation again. You said something that is almost 2 years to wind down in this administration. Just hoping that somebody will check. They submitted this thing, and I saw the Attorney General, that's Abubakar Malami, SAN, they would have streamlined this report and nominate people to be prosecuted, because we are not just talking about 3 trillion naira. You know what that kind of money can do.
6 trillion. And Nigeria was looking for, how much was the budget last year? So imagine if 6 trillion had been truly spent in the Niger Delta, where the Niger Delta will be today. But I think the report from Akpabio, the report from the Senate, and all reports should be put together and given to maybe an independent organization like PwC to audit, to go through the reports and make sure. Yes,
we're just submitting.
No, let me tell you something. There are people already accusing Akpabio of engaging in a witch hunt, and don't forget, we are getting towards the political era. Politics, politicking is next year, so definitely that might even form a major issue going forward. What we're talking about is this. If you say that so and so and so, you have been identified, how do you now stop this thing from continuing? Because right now, as we're speaking, people are still looting the NDDC. So what needs to happen is this. the loopholes have to be identified. First of all, for me, I believe the commission should be scrapped. That is for me. Yeah. But if you have to keep the commission, then what needs to happen is that you must block the loopholes. Yes. Supervision must be fixed in the proper place. And then again, unless you're going to set up special courts, our regular judicial process will not achieve anything.
Okay, Kolawole, finally on this, Kolawole, let me just ask you, way forward. You've been following the process and now the report is out. What do you want to be implemented?
Of course, first, the terms of reference of the auditors was strictly auditing the last or the first 19 years of the agency. Now, it is to see what exactly transpired in terms of the money that has gone there, how they spent it, and how much of it have been stolen that we can recover. So to that extent, I mean, there is no much recommendation aside from saying that we should look at those facts and act on them. But I'm saying that beyond that, it appears we do not have the government resolve to even act decisively in such a case as this. Don't forget that in April 2020, when we started this, despite the allegations of corruption against the then interim committee, the president went ahead to extend their tenure by 6 months, despite personally writing to the president and explaining not just explaining, attaching document of fraud, of theft, of graft in the agency. Number one. Number two, in August, despite the death of the then director of finance, and they shouldn't even have been able to spend money as such, but monies were being spent. There was this day that over 7 billion naira left the coffer of the agency. Right when the probe was going on in the National Assembly, in a single day, they filter away about 9 billion naira. And we put this together and wrote to the president, but nothing was done. So for me, it is for us to appeal to the government to at least for once stand by one promise they made to Nigerians that they will fight corruption and ensure that people are prosecuted. And beyond that, we should also ensure that presently we do not allow the place, to continue to be the cash cow of a few politicians. Let me give you a specific example. After the last interim committee left and a new sole administrator came on board, between December and April, I can give you papers here of the amount of money spent month by month. There was a layoff between May and June, there was no money. But from the last few days of June to July, about 10 billion naira came in, additional 5 billion naira. You need to see also how this money, got filtered away. So while we are chasing after the shadow of those who had gone, we should not also take our eyes away from the present happenings in the place. Now, Jide says something that is very, very important, that the act setting up the place only gave the power to the president to supervise the place. It is even unlawful in the first instance. Such is not, the power that can be delegated. So perhaps the president will need to sit down also and look at that. Let me respond very quickly to what the last speaker said, that we should scrap the place because of corruption. That means we should maybe scrap NNPC, NEDC, and every other commission. You can't scrap because there are loopholes.
All right, so moving on now. As society evolves, so must laws governing human conduct. The Lagos State House of Assembly has amended the criminal justice law of the states. Some of the amendments include no more parade of suspects by police and arrest without warrant unless suspect carries firearms. In this journalist hangout weekend special, TVC News Nelson Esa gets people's view about the amendments.
The administration of criminal justice in Lagos just got more vim with the passage of the bill prohibiting the parade of crime suspects by the police before the media. Section 9A of the newly passed bill states that from the commencement of this law, the police shall refrain from parading any suspect before the media. A subsection of the bill also barred the police or any other agency from arresting a person in lieu of any other person in a criminal matter. A crime suspect, according to the amended law, is also expected to be accorded rights to his dignity and not be subjected to any form of torture by the police. There is also in the law a mandatory legal representation for suspects. Honorable Sanai Agumbiade sheds more light on the purpose of the bill and the motive behind its passage by the Lagos State House of Assembly.
There is a maxim that says, justice delayed is justice denied. A lot of technicalities, on the part of lawyers, on the part of prosecutors to delay justice. And we know that our courts are becoming congested. The correctional centers are becoming highly congested with people detained, delayed there, no justice. So we've been looking around, we've been considering this issue, debate has been on as to the right of an accused person. The Ministry of Justice, the Executive, the House of Assembly, all coming together to say, enough is enough. Let's blaze the trail by changing some of these things that are becoming archaic and are working contrary to the administration of criminal justice in a smooth way.
He also spoke on the administration of criminal justice dispensation in Lagos State.
We will continue to review our laws because law is for social engineering. If the law is weak, many people will explore the weakness in the law to delay justice. That's, I say, human factor, human error in the system. No matter how fast you play, no matter how much you try, those that are criminally inclined will still perpetrate the crime. The criminals are not only those who are arrested. We still have some criminals in uniform, not only as police, even in the judiciary. Those who would just want to make sure that their interest, it is their interest that is placed above that of the society. Whereas lawyers are told that you are not an agent of your client, you are an officer in the temple of justice. So your primary responsibility should be delivery of justice, timely delivery of justice.
Reacting to the bill, human rights lawyer Mr. Bernard Oniga said the passage and domestication of the administration of criminal justice bill is the way to go.
It's a timely one. We have always asked the legislature to look into society. Society is evolving and make laws as society evolves. So the action by members of the Lagos State House of Assembly to pass a bill prohibiting parading of suspects by the police is apt, is relevant, and is timely. And it is high time that the police desist from such abuse of rights.
He went further to explain the position of the Constitution on the administration of criminal justice.
Section 36, subsection 5 of the Constitution tells us that a suspect is presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent court of law. If you parade somebody for suspected crime or criminality, it is as good as judging the person before the court of public opinion. That court is also very important as much as the court of law is important. People begin to have a perception of that person in line with the crime he or she has been paraded for. It is against our law. The Constitution is the first law that prohibits parading of suspects. But I like the fact that the Lagos State government has domesticated it, and that's the beautiful thing. It's good too that the legislature is paying attention to the rhythm and the rhyme of justice, and is paying attention to the times too, to say that in Lagos State, you cannot parade suspect before the media. So let me assume that the Nigerian police has not read it very well in the Constitution. I'm very sure they will read it better now that the Lagos State Assembly has seen the need to pass this all and very important law.
This is as the NSAS panel continues to receive petitions against the Nigeria police bordering on human rights violations, extrajudicial killings, harassment, and brutality. I spoke with some Lagosians on their experience and encounter with the Nigeria police and what they think about the new bill.
Coming out at the bank, they stopped me. I said, what for? That's what I tell them. I said, you people don't know what you are doing. Better know what you are doing. Better they leave me alone.
I was taken from Yaba, then to somewhere that I didn't really know. I was dropped on the road, and it was really bad. They were like, you want to see my phone and stuff. I'd be like, okay. But you guys have to give me a chance to like talk. Let me tell you what I do and stuff. You didn't even ask for my ID card or something. You just believe that you could take me because of my hair.
He was sitting in front of our house around 8 a.m. So the vehicle of those policemen, they were passing. After they are left by a pole, one of the officers came down. He asked him to follow him. My brother asked him what is the reason. He said, why are you questioning me? I asked you to follow me. My brother said he cannot follow you until he tell his offense, because this is where he live. I don't understand. So one of the officer, the police officer inside the vehicle, now came down that he sent his officer to come and take him. He was arguing with him. So as he bring out the gun, my brother now stand up. All the women around the place just came up and come and call me, say, this is what will happen. Before we can come down, they have taken away. So we know the police station we are come. Then we are live at Jakande City, Solo. So before they go around, we have gone to police station in Solo. We could not see them. So they said that they are still on parole. So about 2 hours they came. They have arrested about 17 people. So they now brought a keg of what do they call the Indian hemp? Say they go arrest them where they are where they are smoking Indian hemp. So those women who are there when they arrest my brother, they now shout, where somebody that you arrested in the problem where he was sitting down, this and that. So the DPO of that police station now see the reaction of those women. So the police, actually the DPO now remove my junior brother that they should go and bring him out from the cell.
It is left to see if the Nigeria police will conform with the stipulations in this bill when passed into law. But this bill definitely represents a bold step to bring an end to all forms of police harassment and brutality.
I think it's good. I think it's good, but I think you should have an identity. So once you have an identity, you are good.
It's welcoming. It's welcoming. It's very good idea. I support it. If it can be enforced, so if they can enforce it to the fault, it's very welcome.
Nelson Etta, TVC News, Lagos.
Some of the amendments include no more parade of suspects by the police and arrest without warrants. So many legislations they would like that. Arrest without warrants unless suspect carries firearms. How practicable is this, Babajide? Now, if you're a policeman, if you want to arrest me, you must show me your arrest warrants.
Yes.
For arresting me.
Yes.
What are you?
Yes.
You can't just.
Yes. It's not impossible to do. It's not. But even if you want to search my house, you must come with a warrant. You can't just come to search my house. You must come with a warrant. You know, I mean, these things are normal, but the police, when relating with ordinary people, choose to ignore what the law says
protocols
and just treat people shabbily. What is the point in arresting someone's pregnant wife? Because you can't lay your hands on the suspect. You now pick his wife. I mean, it's not right.
What's the point? Because somebody is wearing a dreadlock, you feel that he must be a criminal.
Yes, and then you start. People send even soldiers. I do soldiers who should be posted to Sambisa, or the islands of Lake Chad, the islands of the Lake Chad,
where they used to fish,
or the Timbuktu Triangle.
Timbuktu
Triangle, hot spots. I'm not mentioning it because it's not even every part in Borno that is hot.
It's hot.
You know? So so I do now. You now stop someone. They even have the time to shave someone's hair. I will send videos.
How?
Just totally dehumanizing people just because you are wearing a uniform. I said even those who look at those ones just coming out of the military school in Zaria, already torturing people at every opportunity. You see yourself as superior to the other Nigerians because you have a uniform. And ordinarily, if they were to leave you and that person alone, and you are involved in hand combat, you may get the beating of your life. Well, because you are wearing uniform, you fear that uniform, yet you will not even respect yourself. There was a video of the man who was, a soldier who was beating one guy. Then the guy just saw a cutlass. He picked the cutlass.
Ah, yeah.
So the bagger didn't wait now. He didn't wait because he knew the implication. Even if you have a kibe, you are not going to take that risk.
And I saw some other video. They chase people in the Ogun State beating the soldier. And the soldier went to go and call his other colleague. By the time the other colleague came back, oh God.
Yeah, they made them to do frog jump and all that.
Now, the standard thing we see on TV every time, like, you know, they busted a crime and they go there, they pick the suspects, and the suspects address journalists and tell us the stories, and most newspapers, they use it as some of their feature stories, very interesting story, like the one of Chidimana. Yes, the first, the next day she was arrested, she was paraded. So the Lagos House of Assembly now just outlawed this practice now, that you cannot keep parading people.
Yeah, I commend the Lagos House of Assembly, but I think they should look beyond just parading, beyond the the points in that in what they have passed, because you find a situation these days, when people want to settle scores. I know of a case, for instance, of somebody who accused somebody of something in Imo State, somewhere in Imo State, and went to Zone 9 in Umuahia. Got policemen, got that in Abia, got policemen, and then they tricked the person, they lured the person that okay, there was something going on, if they needed his services, and then we laid him, took him to Maya and detained him for over a month. You understand? So this is something that happened in.
You must have been bribed.
You took it. So a lot of these things keep going on. You find during the lockdown, policemen were from Lagos Command were entering Ogun State and picking people for not wearing nose masks. In fact, there was a Black Maria right at just before the Long Bridge, parked, written Lagos State Task Force, and they were loading people into that Black Maria and bringing them to Lagos for trial. Oh, I said, why? This is Ogun State. This thing is not, why not use your Black Maria to beggar? You are bringing it right inside Ogun State. So these are the things that need governors, not just the state as well, the speakers conference need to look into these things. That is one. And then secondly, I remember a case of, a prominent journalist, who once raised an issue on Facebook. He said one of his employees left the office and was going home. He was picked by the police in Lagos here, somewhere around Ilupeju, only for the guy to be paraded the following day as a suspected robber. And he said, yes, that was Taiwo Obe now. It's well known now, Mr. Taiwo Obe. He said he was shocked. He saw somebody who left his office the previous night being paraded. And he said, what? This guy is my employee. And of course, he went into so many ridiculous, cases like that.
That's why this is a good.
It's a good development, but again, you see, there should be allowance for, monitoring of police interrogation. There are interrogation rooms. There should be allowance for monitoring and recording of interrogations, so that policemen don't get away.
That way, even the suspect can change the story.
They don't get away with that.
Kolawole, what do you make of this development from the Lagos House of Assembly to stop this parade of criminals, and you need an arrest warrant to actually put me under arrest?
First, if you look at development index across the country, Lagos State has always taken a very vital lead. I mean, you can go to from LASMA to to different sectors and interventions. So I think Lagos has scored another first again. Let me give you a vivid example. Something happened like 2 months ago. I personally got a lawyer to take the case up. A young guy who works with me in Lagos was in his house. And at about 10:30 p.m., they busted into his apartment. Now, he even thought they were thieves because they weren't having any uniform on. So he tried to escape, but they broke down his door, harassed his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, and his wife with a newborn baby. And guess what? When they couldn't find him, they were to take the father-in-law, and they kept asking, what did he do? They didn't see anything. There was no search warrant. There was no arrest warrant. And these guys left. And when they got to the gate of the estate and they asked them, what did they do? They said it was a pipeline issue, that he busted a pipeline in Abuja, that they sent the case. I said, in Abuja where I am. We had to write directly to the IG's office and demand that they be prosecuted. So these are the things that these guys get involved in. From place to place across the country, you see a young man who is doing well, and you just get angry. I was traveling someday, and I was inside my a small C class while the jeep was coming behind deliberately, and they stopped me. The guy was asking me to show him my phone. I said, my phone. At this stage, I was shocked. So these guys, they do not even understand that there is any law governing us. Okay, so Lagos State coming out with this.
Yes, let me bring you back to Lagos then. A good one. It's beyond this development, and we still have people to talk to, expecting Richard Akinola. Julie, beyond this development now, hope they will not succeed in, how do you call it? There's a way, anytime we have law. Okay, we have Richard Akinola. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Richard.
Thank you. Why?
Yes, okay,
yes.
Let me ask you, let me start by asking you, what do you make of this development? The first you see...
Yeah, it's a nice one. It's a nice one, no doubt about it. I mean, this is amendment to the Administration of Criminal Justice Law by Lagos State House of Assembly. It's a nice one because, as a matter of fact, even before this amendment, there have been judicial precedents and decisions in respect of issue of priority of sports suspects. I recall that, over 20 years ago, Justice Manuel, now late, of Lagos High Court, ruled on this issue of illegality of parading suspects. Then Justice Ademola, then of the Federal High Court, Calabar, similarly passed a judgment in that respect. And then, and even of recent, a recent case, that's the case of at the Federal High Court, Otto Obono versus Inspector General. All this again, okay. Against Section 36, Section 5 of the Constitution, then Section 34, Subsection 1 of the Constitution, and of course Article 7B of the African Charter of Human and People's Rights, which says that every individual shall have right to have his case heard. This comprises the rights to be presumed innocent until proved guilty before a competent court. So, but what you have said that people just separate. I recall that several years ago, Justice Kensington, then he was DPP. He was arrested for wandering. No, Justice Kensington, in his usual way, he just put on shorts. He was strolling. He said he went to go and buy cigarettes. Then he was arrested and then taken to the police station. And then put behind bars and behind the counter. So then I think the DPO, shortly after the DPO came in and saluted him. And then he was asking, guy, what are you doing here? And he said, I'll be arrested for wandering. He said, what? Who did that? So, and the DPO asked, do you know who just arrested? That the DPP of Lagos State. So the two guys ran away out of the station. The two corporals ran out of the station. So, but because it was DPP that was falsely arrested, it would have been if any other person. That person would have been charged, and there be case of robbery. Just being suited against them.
Richard, let me pause you a little bit. Let me go to Vice Inibe. Inibe, what do you make of this law just passed by the Lagos House of Assembly? As regard the arrest without warrant, unless the suspect carries firearm, and that police should stop parading people, suspects, after arresting them.
Ayode, thank you for having me. You know, my approach to these things has always been to look at what is going on in terms of the practical realities. It is good that the Lagos State House of Assembly had intervened in terms of legislation, specifically on the issue of parade of suspects. I don't want to sound pessimistic, but my position as a lawyer, my position as a Nigerian is that this might just be one of those dead letter laws that are only enforced, in disobedience. The police as an institution has shown itself unwilling and incapable of abiding by the rule of law. There is nothing that is so radical in this law that is not covered by existing law. From the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of 2011 in Lagos State, that was replicated at the federal level by the ACJ in 2015, to the Police Act of 2020. Many Nigerians have not taken time to look at the radical reforms introduced under the new Police Act. None of these laws have been serious. There has been no serious attempts by the police or by the leadership of this country to ensure that these laws are obeyed. So what are we talking about? At the end of the day, the bill is passed, the governor assents to it, and that is the end of the matter. Currently, we have a law that says a suspect is not to be made to make a statement except that statement is recorded, a confessional statement is recorded, or in the presence of his counsel. How many police stations, with the exception of, Panti that I know in Lagos that has facility for recording of confessional statements? It's not even in all cases that they comply with that. How many police formations are in Nigeria, how many police stations have facilities for that? Even beyond facilities, how many police stations allow suspects to secure legal representation? Under the new Police Act, it says that when a suspect is arrested, the police shall give that person the facility in terms of phone communication to contact a member of his family. The police have a duty to ensure that a member of the family of every suspect is contacted. Who is enforcing that? Again, under the law, both the ACJ and the Police Act, arrest by proxy has been outlawed. That is, if you are looking for me, you come to my house, you don't find me, the law says you cannot arrest my brother. But this thing that's been going on here every day. Under the ACJ and the Police Act, and even the Anti-Torture Act of 2017, torture of criminal suspects has been outlawed. But guess what, just on Sunday, 29th of August, exactly 1 week ago, I'm currently representing a family whose child, a fresh graduate of the University of Ibadan, was arrested at random, picked up in Akwa Ibom, taken into the police custody and tortured to death. Somebody who was very healthy, not sick, nothing was wrong with him. And yesterday, the PPRO in the state came out to lie to the public that he was being investigated for robbery, for cultism, that he was evading arrest, whereas none of those things happened. What I'm telling you is that while we are happy that a law has been passed, the reality today is that the police is a lawless institution. The police is not interested in abiding by the rule of law. And for me, the reform cannot be done internally. There is no IG of police that is sworn in.
Okay, let me pause you there. Yeah. Okay, finally, I wanted to ask Richard that, okay, Lagos House of Assembly passed this law, but still at the police headquarters and some other commands across the country, they still parade these people.
Well, I think perhaps we are waiting for it to be ascended to by the governor, because once the governor assents to that law, then I think it's obligatory for the police, at least in Lagos State, not to parade suspects.
Thank you, Richard Akinola, Advisor Enibe. Thank you for your intervention there on this new law from the Lagos House of Assembly, and we hope that the governor will sign this into law and we'll see monitored implementation. So it's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. Please don't go away. Yes, it's your favorite news and current affairs program on TV, Journalist Hangout on Sunday. As pressure mounts on the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Uche Secondus, to vacate his seats, the stakes keep getting higher against his resolve to trudge on. Last week, A sort of political coup was orchestrated against him when the PDP in Ward 5 of Ikiru Town in Adonai local government area, Rivers State, suspended him. The PDP Ward Chairman, George Christopher, said 11 executive members out of 17 endorsed suspension of Secondus from the party over his failure to attract development to that area and inability to manage the party. Let's share some of the visuals with you.
Power to the people. Here we are, the people of Ward 5, PDP. We came for our Congress. The Ward Chairman called for Congress to rectify some issues bothering the party in the ward. This is the Ward Chairman. This is the Ward Secretary. You can see their names, sir. Call your name.
My name is George Christopher, the Ward 5 Chairman, PDP.
My name is Ubulum Aaron Denny, Secretary, PDP Ward 5.
The ESCOs here are 11 in number. And you can imagine 11 out of 17. They had 6. My name is Office Kagban Christopher, the State Organizing Secretary of PDP. In this ward, we have some names. The national chairman of PDP is from here. And when we find out that because of him, PDP is going down, we as a ward, we came together and said, sir, please, can you just step down? The leader of this party in the state is Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike, and whatever advice, whatever thing he asks, we will do it because he is the leader of the party in the state.
First and foremost, I want to congratulate Prince Uche Secondus for his wonderful heart that has led to his suspension from the party. You can mention my name anywhere, as far as I'm concerned. And until further notice, I repeat, until further notice by us, our brother Prince Uche Secondus remain suspended.
The affirmation of the suspension of Prince Uche Secondus, the World Executive of the People's Democratic Party in Ward 5 Ikru Town, the leaders of the party and the general stakeholders of the ward at a meeting held at the ward office in Ikru Town on the 31st of August 2021, discussed in depth issues that affect the party and how to reposition the prosper the party at the ward, and unanimously adopted the following resolutions. 1. That the suspension of Prince Uche Secondus was validly done by the ward executive after a duly constituted ward meeting called by the secretary on the instruction of the chairman according to the constitution of our great party. The party at the ward further reaffirmed the suspension and thanked the party at the local government level and state level for acting on the suspension.
This reminds me of what goes around comes around. I remember going to the ward of Adam Soshomole where his trouble started from, and I was looking at, oh, these people, they are too small to suspend a whole national chairman. Lo and behold, he didn't survive that onslaught, and I doubt if Uche Secondus will survive this onslaught. Once they succeed in going to your ward, you know that.
I think Uche Secondus,
and these are his people.
He's gone. That's his hometown. That's his hometown. I think he's gone. Ikuru. That's his hometown. Very far from Port Harcourt. You see, Secondus is not He's not even bothering himself that much anymore, because many people thought he would try to preside over the NEC meeting, but he just told the yes, he told him to go and preside over the meeting. He's staying away, waiting to see whether the David Mark-led committee can achieve some form of truce. But it's looking like between him and the governor of Rivers State, that this thing has gone too far for any of them, for either of them to look back. So it's the same thing that they did to Shomole, because when you are national chairman, you control the upper crust of the party, but the governor of the state controls the state right from the base.
The ward level.
Yes,
ward level,
you can hear what that guy said, that
level.
look, the governor is the leader of the party. Whatever he tells us to do, we do. At that point, his fate is sealed. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but PDP has 10 governors. How can one governor hold a whole national party hostage? I mean, even though Shomole was suspended in his word, but the appeal court has lifted the order. So what is just going on is one man trying to impose his will on the party. And of course, there's a school of thought that says that PDP NEC members cannot be suspended by their word. So exactly what is Wike pushing for? What exactly does he want PDP to do? And it's so dangerous. Going close to the 2023 elections. We're talking about PDP now engaging in membership registration and all that, and then you are rocking the boat, you are shaking the foundation of the party. When will the party be able to come together and heal the rifts within, then prepare for the 2023 election? It's just unfortunate that this is the kind of politics we play in Nigeria. But I think all of this coming from just one state out of 10 states is not good enough. I mean, these things can be resolved. These things can be resolved at the party level without they've gone to court, tried different courts, now coming to his word. And at the end of the day, they should take cognizance of the fact that the appeal court in Abuja, lifted the suspension on Oshomole. So if even if the ward has suspended and he goes to court, he fights his way up to the appeal court to speak, and they lift the suspension. Of what use will all of this be? They are just undermining the party and destabilizing the party. And it's not in the best interest of the PDP that this should be allowed to linger.
All right, Kolawole, what do you make of the crisis within the PDP?
It is political. And you must understand the fact that they are taking a cue from what happened in APC. APC brought that template and they have used it. But beyond Wike, we must understand the fact that there are groups already within the party. And it is almost impossible for Wike to act alone. Whatever you're saying is about 2023. And I want to believe strongly that perhaps some groups who felt that secondos may not be able to satisfy their interest actually pushed for this. You can't take that away. It is impossible for Wike to act alone. I think tents have been pitched already and they are playing the game.
So the final analysis
before that Wike does not own the Secondus must go trademark. I said it before. So he was not acting alone. There are many people who are not happy with him within the party. So it's just those elements opposed to him coming together, using Wike as the poster boy of their Secondus must go agitation. So it's not acting alone. It's impossible to act alone in these matters. He has to get support. Even when he wanted to make Secondus chairman of the party, he had to reach out to people. I remember him talking to Dixon, the governor of Bayelsa then, and he told him, look, Secondus is your Ijaw brother. Why wouldn't you back your Ijaw brother? And Dixon's hands were tied. Dixon had to support him. Whereas Dixon had been supporting Adeniro before then. We before our eyes, Adeniro was his candidate, but he blackmailed him. I said, Secondus is your Ijaw brother. So you cannot.
So you want to remove him now? All right, and finally, now The naira continues its downward slide against the dollar. Last week, the naira exchange for, just listen to this, 526 naira to a dollar, losing 26% in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the federal government says the country must borrow or the economy will continue to regress. The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, said to sustain the 5.01% gross domestic product GDP growth recorded in the second quarter of 2021, government must continue to borrow to invest in critical infrastructure for investments required for business activities. This kind of economy, but so let's start from the naira. Let's start from the naira. Say the naira 526 to a dollar. I would say we've never had it this bad. It happened before. I think it was 506 or 510.
Yes.
It has never gotten to.
This is a record. This is a record. There are people who have said, look, it will get to 600 by December. There's no strategy, no concrete strategy in place to stop this.
Because the pound is said to be, they are selling it for 700 or something now.
So, I don't even know how much. I'm so used to my naira. Now, when that decision was taken to get the BDCs off the sale of dollars, I hoped in my heart that it will work. But as we have seen, that method is not working. We don't know whether the CBN governor will go back to his vomit because he's done that before. There was a time that he stopped selling to BDCs. When the naira began a free fall, he went back. So we don't know what he will do this time. For many people, the gap between the parallel market rate and the official rate is the reason we have this problem. You cannot have a gap so wide as no less than 100 naira, and you expect that rent seeking will stop. Rent seeking will get worse. You have now given banks opportunity to continue the rent seeking that BDCs were doing. Because let's face it, every week you release about $100 million to the forex market. It is the banks that take this money, warehouse this money, and are meant to get it to the end users. Now with the official and unofficial exchange rate so far apart, it is an incentive to speculators. It's an incentive even to the banks to take this money and give forex sellers, the local forex sellers, because they know that they will get good returns. Look, every week about 10 billion comes to people who have done nothing, because the people who sell this currency now, they do not do any work. The CBN merely presents the money to them, present the dollars, $100 million to them every week, go and sell, and you make, if you can do your kone business, then you will make 10 billion for them to share across board. Politicians will have their share in it, banks will have their share, agents will have their shares in it. It's just unfortunate. I've suggested before that the CBN governor needs to ask himself some salient questions. At the time you became CBN governor, the currency was exchanging at around 165 naira to the dollar. Wow. You are now on 526. How do you explain that? It means your methods are not working. And if your methods are not working, what do you then do?
Throw in the towel.
You throw in the towel. That's the way it's done everywhere else.
From 160 something
165, yeah, 165, around 165. It was not up to 200. I know that. It was not up to 200. It over around that. Now we are on 526. Who knows where we will end up at the end of this year?
The prospect of going down, getting back to 360, that it was for some months, I mean many months.
The demand for forex in our country will keep going up because of corruption. People steal money. You get bribed to the tune of 1 billion. You will go, if they tell you that it is exchanging at 1 million naira to $1, you will easily release it because it's not money that you work for. You get the point that I'm making. You will exchange it because you want to store it. You want to convert the 1 billion that you have stolen to cash, and then you get it in dollars, you go and keep. It is not any economic formula that is responsible for our own extreme demand for the dollar. It is driven by corruption, largely driven by corruption, because they are the ones looking for the money to exchange after being bribed in naira terms.
Emeka, so if you have to, like, say you are going on vacation in the US at the end of the day now, and you have to carry sackload of naira to exchange in dollar, that's in, let's say you and your family are going now, and maybe you need a minimum of 10 million naira to convert to this kind of dollar. You know how crazy this is.
Well, it's very sad. It's very sad, and yes, the CBN governor has to just give way, because what it shows is that all his interventions, all his acrobatics are not doing any good, you know, to Nigerians. You know, they're not doing any good to the Nigerian economy. And then again, the pressure on the naira has to be eased, because so many things are competing for the scarce dollars in the, you know,
the pressure for dollar, you want to say?
Yeah, sorry, the pressure for dollar rather should, you know, has to be, something has to be done about it. Okay, look at
even within Lagos, people have done some transactions that carried out in dollars.
People have gone on pilgrimage. People are on Christian pilgrimage right now. Of course, you can imagine how much has been, you know, taken away from the system, you know, to fund that. And then you keep having, you know, uncoordinated actions
abroad.
Yeah, basically doing up, and then luxuries. Nigerians are also subsidizing luxuries for the wealthy, for the elite. We are subsidizing luxuries for these people. So a lot of these things need to be curbed. You know, we need to look at a lot of these things so that we can save the naira. Because Jerry is talking of 600, it might just snowball to 1,000.
So you just pack up and go now?
No, it's not about packing up and going. Certain people should pack up and go. Like the CBN government should pack up and go. You know, and then let's have a more coherent policy, because it's not helping Nigerians.
The solution is production. If we remain the way we are not producing, there is no way that our currency will be strong.
Local substitutes to a lot of things that are important need to be looked for.
So how do we now? Okay, the second part of this is, to me, is very annoying. That okay, we need to borrow our way out of this present situation we're in. That according to the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, says to sustain the 5.01% gross domestic product growth recorded in the first quarter of 2021, that we must continue to borrow.
Well, borrowing has implications, because the soul that borrows must repay. So if you keep borrowing, you must repay. And even that is putting so much strain on us as a nation.
You know how much we repay now?
We are now, what we set aside to service debt is making it difficult for us to commit a lot more to capital projects.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, you still have, in fact, the debts, because these debts are denominated in dollars. So it's such a big deal. You have to repay. You have to service your debt. And I heard when Okonjo Iweala and Adesina of ADB were warning African leaders that, look, this appetite for borrowing has to be curtailed, because it will not allow you to be able to execute enough developmental projects for your people, because you have to set out what is the revenue. When we talk about the fact that we are taking too many loans, people will argue that our debt to GDP ratio is tidy, but we should be talking about debt to revenue. because the revenue that will assure you of your capacity to pay is not the GDP.
And
we are not making enough, we are not earning enough.
But they will argue that so far we are investing it in critical infrastructure, that this is what this government is doing. They're not using it to pay salary, that they're investing it to build railways, bridges, and...
But what I'm not opposed to even building railways. But what I want to see are projects that can repay themselves and repay themselves quickly.
Yes.
You know, I'm not opposed to that. But look, the implication is every year as we have seen, we cannot finance our budget without borrowing. Is that the way it is everywhere? We cannot finance our budget without paying. All of the projections about revenue have not really come true.
Made it.
Yes, we have projections that suggest that we have fantasies in our heads, but we do not make those monies. So we still have to now go and borrow from here to be able to execute projects listed in our budget. So we have to work on revenue, improve our revenue. Once the revenue is improved, we block all avenues through which the resources are leaking. We will have enough to execute our project. But that's not what is happening. A lot of the revenue generating agencies, there's so much corruption there. I saw Faleke fighting with some of them the other day. They are not even remitting as they should. They are sitting, some of them are even hiding revenues that they made. They are even hiding.
Okay,
yes.
I have Femi. Femi is calling us from Kano. Thank you for staying with us, Femi.
My name is Femi.
Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead, Femi.
Yes, I want to thank Uncle Jide and Uncle that is beside the anchor.
Madunagu.
Yes,
Uncle
so
Nika.
I want to contribute to what you are saying. I'm very happy that even those who are not majoring in it, they know exactly what to do. Somebody like Uncle Jide, he knows what to do when there is a situation that is arising like this. But I want to believe that the problem we have in this country is that we lack supervision. Somebody is put in a place, nobody is supervising him. Almost on daily basis, the central bank governor will come to the television twice a day to tell us his policies, and these policies are not working. To look back, and if you know those policies are not working, can't you throw in the water well and say, look, it's like all efforts, have devised solutions. I think there is lack of shame. If you are doing a thing for several years and
Thank you, Femi, for your contribution.
I'm looking forward to bumper turnover from Nigerian banks this year. Why? Because they are the ones handling forex now.
Yes.
As I've told you, about 10 billion is made every week when CBN gives out $100 million for them to sell. The profit is huge. They are not the ones looking for the money. You know, they are just go and sell.
Okay. As our last year, we couldn't get BTA.
Yes.
We checked this year, maybe.
Even though the people need it the most, the small and medium scale enterprises, the manufacturing companies that need it badly, pharmaceutical companies, a lot of them are forced to go to the parallel market to source for dollars. It's painful.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We need to increase our sources of revenue, because you see government bringing up a raft of taxes, levies, and all that. But these things are in naira. We're talking about increasing, raising our foreign reserves, and we must do all that is necessary to reduce the pressure on these reserves. Action must be taken, and then the borrowing is dangerous. It's dangerous because when we are spending, is it now 91% of our revenues on debt servicing?
Yes.
It's dangerous. No country. So are we now saying we are going to surrender the treasury to our creditors?
So what's the essence
Or is it that we are going to now surrender those projects to our creditors to manage so that we can at least get some money for socially, for critical infrastructure, for social services, for security and other things? We cannot continue.
You can imagine if in
this
today's
cycle.
world we were to build this third mainland bridge. Where are we going to find the money? Or if we were to build Abuja at this time, where are we going to find the money?
Can't know.
No, the questions are the borrowing needs to be. We need to review.
Fourth Mainland Bridge has been on the pipeline since how many years now?
We need to
finance it is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yes. Even power. Look at what is happening in the power sector.
Benga Ogurola joining us. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
A dollar is now selling for 526 naira to a dollar and losing 26% in 4 weeks. What do you make of this situation?
Well, I remember the last time I was on the show, and that was when the new policy of CBN came into force. And the question was, would the CBN reverse this policy and all that? And we postulated then that if the policy succeeds, yes, there will be, of course, no need to reverse. But if not, then the CBN will be under pressure to reverse the policy. Well, in hindsight, we can see that probably the policy itself was not well thought of. And when we look at it holistically, we can see that nothing really has changed in the forex policy, except for the fact that the government are no longer giving funds to the Bureau de Change as they used to. The funds that they are not giving to the Bureau de Change, which was said to be given to the banks, that it will help in helping the naira to gain some traction against other currencies, has not worked out. And when we look at the policy of CBN, we'll see that invariably what the commercial banks were doing before now is still what they do. There's nothing that has been added to the scope in which they operated before now. It's still the same set of scope that they work within, even up to now. There's no new addition to it. So as long as these are still in force, we are not going to see any change. What we just see is that governments are not committing the funds that they normally commit into the forex market as they used to. Probably they are able to reserve those funds now. But as long as they are not ready to accommodate more scope of more scope of coverage in which this forex covers, then we'll still be operating within this same arguments whereby it's only the commercial banks that are giving funds to the public, the DCAs, the PCAs, that's what they fund. Every other thing, you still have to source for it from the black market. Yeah. And one of the problems that we have in the economy is that we don't capture enough data to know where there's leakages in the system. If the Bureau de Change are also brought under a policy whereby even those that are exchanging funds from them, they are documented, they know where these funds are going to, where they are coming from. It will help the government to formulate better policy. But what we have done in kind of cutting the Bureau de Change of is that those data that probably they might have a little glimpse into them before now, they don't have that again. So what we have in the economy now is that people are beginning to even hold dollars, as a source of edge against inflation. So you see people, rather than putting money in the bank now, they rather prefer to hold dollars so that they go against future inflations and other other economic crises that may occur. So that is what we are having in the system now, whereby the government are, they've actually cut the issue of data, and the policy that was formulated is actually not working.
I want to thank you, Benga Ogurola. Thank you for your contribution. And finally on the show today, His legendary status in the world of football is no longer in doubt. But Portuguese superstar Cristiano Ronaldo is not done breaking and making records. Ronaldo broke the world record for goals scored in men's international football when he netted his 110th and 111 goals for Portugal in their dramatic 2-1 World Cup qualifier win over Republic of Ireland last week. The 36-year-old achieved the fifth against 45 different countries between 2003 to 2021. I have May Akere joining us now. I think it's like a disservice to history that CR7 was sharing the same generation with Lionel Messi. That these two legendary players will be coming at the same time. I don't know. They've broken all available records. They've done everything. I don't know. So I'm even tired of this comparison between Ronaldo and Lionel Messi.
Well, good to be here. Let me start by saying that. And if you say it's a disservice, well, for the fans, on the basis of sentiment, some would have said probably we should have either a Ronaldo now and a Lionel Messi later. But what we could just do now is just to cherish, this great moment. At 36, we saw what Ronaldo did at international level on the 1st of September. And 180 matches for Portugal, 111 goals. It is magical. That's the only way I can describe this. And we should also note that goals scored in the colours of Portugal at the youth level from under 15, where he had 7 goals, on the 17, 5 goals, on the 20, a goal, on the 21, 3 goals, on the 23, 2 goals were not counted. And if there is one record Ronaldo would have that Messi may never match, or better still, will never match, it is the highest goal when it comes to the men's international football. Messi is 77, 111 for Cristiano Ronaldo at 36. It's magical.
Do you know, Toju, when you look at this kind of player, I was told day before yesterday that he was given the number 7 jersey, and I remember those that have won number 7 for the Cantonas, the Beckham, those ones that they've won 7 for Manchester United. And if you see what Ronaldo is going to do in some months, he might just level their records.
Yeah, the A2 wore the number 7 jersey, and in fact, the moment they started selling his replica shirts, they ran out of stock. You see long queues of people waiting to buy.
I'm even waiting to get how much money you will tell us they made from the sales of the jersey.
But it's between, they sell them at between £70 to £100 for one. So it all depends on how many units they are able to sell.
Yes, I know for Messi they were able to make $90 million.
So of course Manchester United has far more supporters than PSG. Ronaldo on social media has far more followers than Messi. So you will expect that they will be able to outsell.
Radio Continental yesterday, I mean Max FM yesterday, that Ronaldo is a bigger brand than even Chelsea as a football club.
No, even somebody listed that he has won 5 Champions Leagues. Yeah. Chelsea has not won up to that. They listed the trophies that he has won.
So,
when people want to mess up a team, they can come up with all kinds of things. So in terms of what he has won, I mean, he's someone to be cherished, someone to be respected. I read what one of the Argentine greats said about him. He said, it's a great thing to have 2 greatest of all times.
Honestly.
It's difficult for him to say, look, this is that's talking about Carlos Tevez. It's difficult for him to say, this is the better player. Between the 2 of them.
It's played with the 2 of them.
It's difficult. It will always, no matter what people say, there are people that even with a gun to their neck, they will never agree that Messi is better. With the records that Ronaldo has in the Champions League, now in international football, with his energy, the way he inspires his colleagues, the people will never agree. Everywhere he's been to, he's been a winner.
He's been a winner.
Everywhere. Everywhere, there is no country that is being told that it cannot emerge highest goal scorer.
For Juventus, it's called 93 goals for 3 seasons.
It's scored 81 goals in 98 matches. You know, when he went to Juventus when he was, you know, in his 33, 34, 35, and at that age, others are thinking of retiring. If Wenger will tell you once you are in your 30s, I only give you a 1-year contract. That's a coach who seen as a professor in football and was respected. His philosophy is respected by FIFA. But Ronaldo has been able to say, no, with this, I can even achieve more.
That's thanks to Zidane. You know, if Ronaldo, even at 31, wanted to play every game. Zidane now told him, no. You can't play every game at 31. You know, because by 2016 he already had 2 Champions League trophies. He said you can't play every game. Your career can be extended if we give you breaks periodically. Now he's grateful to Zidane for that decision, because he probably would have burnt out by now. So now you can see that he's been able to extend his career. He's 36 and he's still one of the best in the world.
Look at the last Euro Cup, not this recent Euro Cup, the 4 years ago. Now they tell you that a tree does not make you. Yoruba people say a tree does not make you.
I was even going to
like went to that tournament with an average team and single-handedly Ronaldo took them to the final.
Ronaldo has shown that with the likes of Pelé and Maradona, you know, that's the class he belongs to. In 1986 in Mexico at the World Cup, when Mexico hosted the World Cup, the match between England and Argentina, the commentator said, you have a Maradona and 10 other robots. And then Maradona single-handedly ensured that La Abacelista of Argentina won that trophy.
Yes.
Now, the penultimate European Championship, even when Ronaldo was injured, you could see a Ronaldo on the touchline, inspiring the players.
He became a coach.
While on international duty, there was a match they were meant to take penalty kicks. Ronaldo was telling his teammates, no, come, don't shy away. If you score, you score. If you don't score, you didn't score. Don't worry, it doesn't matter. Now, even as he's in Manchester as we speak, he has touched down and he has told his teammates already that we are going for the Premier League title. He has told his teammates already. He's in Manchester as we speak. He's undergoing quarantine. He should have his first training on Wednesday. And with Luis Fernandez and others, he has told them what we are doing is the Premier League title. Now you could see Ronaldo left Manchester United as a player who was given the award of the best player in world football from the Premier League.
And that was the last time.
That was the last time
anybody in the Premier League won that award.
He's coming back to the Premier League as a player of Manchester United with another award that is in the Guinness Book of Record as the highest goal scorer of all time in men's international football. And we should note, at 36, still counting, most of his records, he will still break them and add more to that. 137 goals in the UEFA Champions League. The highest. No player living or dead has scored more goals in the UEFA Champions League than Cristiano Ronaldo. No player living or dead has scored more goals in a single Champions League season. 17 goals than Cristiano Ronaldo. And indeed, he is the player that has scored most goals in the knockout stages of the Champions League. 64. No man, living or dead, has scored more than Cristiano Ronaldo. In the course of this year, 111 goals for Portugal. At 36, he's still counting. Ronaldo will add to that.
But I'm confident. Of course, I'm confident he will add to that.
To show you the influence of this phenomenal player, there was this soda that was in front of him, and when he was about to have a press conference, he removed that soda, and we're told that in the stock markets, that
it affected
the price of
the shares. The shares fell.
Ronaldo is extremely strong on social media. Ronaldo is the greatest humanitarian among sports people in the world.
I agree.
He does worthy causes, humanitarian causes, more than any sports personality alive. Ahead of Roman Reigns, the wrestler, ahead of John Cena, the wrestler, Ronaldo is the #1 humanitarian sportsman in the world. He took his time, he went to Palestine to see suffering people and help solve their problems. Many people don't even know this side of him. What you hear people say, oh, he's selfish. He is selfish because he's a winner. He does not want to lose. Ronaldo prefers to die than lose a game. And you see it. Yes. When he got injured in that final match, he was crying. And they were telling him, his teammates were telling him, we will win for you. Stop crying. He felt that why should he get injured so early in the game? And it was an injury that he could not play with, because Ronaldo hardly gets injured. But he could not play on with that injury. So he thought, we're going to win. But the player said, look, you inspire us, you are our leader, and we are going to win for you.
Portugal, average team.
Yes, no world-class players that team.
The last he only woke up.
He was the highest goal scorer.
He was the highest scorer this last one.
Portugal crashed out.
Yes.
They didn't get to the final.
There is hardly any tournament goes to without imagining highest scorer.
Okay, there's this talk about being talented and naturally talented and achieving success. Achieving success. That's the difference between Messi and C. Ronaldo. That Messi, yes, is naturally endowed, but this person had to go the extra mile to where he has gotten to today.
Well, that debate will continue for a very long time, and there are a bit of sentiments. For me, I feel it's still yet to be proven. Yes, Lionel Messi got to Barca at a very young age, and then what he understood at Barcelona was football. At a very young age, there was one of Messi's bodyguard, who said Messi used to be a very shy person. He wasn't allowed to go to clubs when he was at Barcelona.
Yes.
And when Ronaldinho took him to the club, the manager of the side felt, I would have
to sacrifice.
I would have to sacrifice Ronaldinho. Now, one of the bodyguard of Lionel Messi at that point in time, before he became the bodyguard of Lionel Messi, he had already robbed over 500 banks. He had already robbed over 500 banks. So his job at Barca then was to go to clubs, pick up players who were drunk. But he said Messi was a different person entirely. He was naturally gifted at play football in the morning at Barca. He wasn't allowed to go out. So that was where they felt, okay, that natural thing played in Messi. What he knows was just football at a very early age and not girls. For Ronaldo, he had to work hard. And till date, you would realize that the hard work has indeed paved the way for him.
Yes.
The Englishman
used to be the first to get to training,
and the last to leave.
Well, Ferguson would sometimes chase him away from training.
You see, irrespective of when you say one is talented or
he has never tasted alcohol, because it's that diet of this extreme consumption of alcohol. His father was ill. He was an alcoholic, and then he got sick and he died. Ronaldo has not tasted alcohol in his life because he decided to learn from how his father ended up.
So let me add
and he does not drink coke. And he has no tattoo on his body because he regularly donates blood.
I agree with that.
At that level, he's donating blood.
When he moved from Real Madrid to Juventus, the doctors described, the physical condition of Ronaldo's body as a player in his early 20s, even when he was in his late 30s. He has a special dietitian. Ronaldo today employed a Nigerian who was rejected by the country when it comes to his pace and sprinting. Francis Obikwelu. Obikwelu was training Cristiano Ronaldo. And this was an athlete that, for crying out loud, needed the help of Nigeria when he was injured. Nigeria turned his back on him. And when Portugal came, he said, yes, I will come to. And at the last Olympic Games, when the Italian won the 100 meters, that was the first time in the history of the Olympics we will see any European win the gold medal under 10 seconds. Francis Obikwelu held that record for a very long time. No European, despite how gifted they are, despite how they've worked hard and how scientific they are, none of them ran under 10 seconds to win a major record in the 100 meters.
Go on and on and on and on. See Ronaldo.
674 goals at international level, 111 at the club level, 111 at international level, 785 goals. Still counting.
Thank you, Mia.
Still counting because we know that he's going to score many goals at Manchester United.
Yes, sir.
People are saying, oh, the Methuselah has come, he will not achieve much. We can only laugh at those people because this is a man who is primed to score goals, and he will score many goals at Manchester United. So people can abuse Manchester United. Oh, you signed an old player. We are going to see these guys score many goals because this is not an ordinary player.
He outscored Lukaku in the Serie A.
He was described as the Valentino Rossi of football because of his pace.
That's it.
Okay. We have a fantastic physical specimen of a player in Manchester United, and he will be the difference maker.
Yes, sir.
Watch it.
Emeka Magunagu, thank you so much for your contribution today. And Kolawole Johnson, our friend from Abuja, thank you. And it's good to have you back, Kolawole Johnson. Thank you for joining us. And Babajide Kolade Otitoju, another master blaster for our Sunday special.
We thank God.
Nice one. Nice one. And that's all on our package today. Do join us tomorrow for our regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode by 11:30. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Ayodele Ozubakun. Bye for now. See you tomorrow by 5 p.m.